If you're a frequent attendee of the Schwab Trader Talks channel and classes, then you are probably a little bit familiar with the term CAHOLD, or close above the high of the low day. Today, we're going to explore what a CAHOLD move is and ways that traders might give thought to incorporating it within their trading plan and process. First of all, we're looking for stocks that are already in uptrends, and the hold move occurs after the stock has retreated from a recent high. Sometimes the retreat isn't so much as a pullback as it is a consolidation over time. So, what we traders are looking for, of course, is perhaps the best or most opportune moment to start a new position or begin a new trade. And we're going to look at a few examples detailing this today. So I've created a scan locating opportunities like this, finding stocks that are already in uptrends that have perhaps been pulling back in recent windows of time. So we're just going to work through a watch list that I've built utilizing my watch list tab on the left, and I'm going to start just alphabetically working our way down. The first one is Apple. Now, this is a good example of a situation where the stock has been in an uptrend over a longer window of time. Notice here the lower left pricing from spring and early summer of last year to the upper side here. So we do have a defined uptrend evidenced by that upward sloping 200-day moving average in blue. But most recently, what's notable is the break of the downtrend here. So I'm going to draw in the downtrend line. And what's intriguing to a lot of traders is this action over the downtrend line. While we've not managed to break out aggressively, we have managed to hold this level over the last 2 weeks, which has given the stock's 20-day moving average in orange the chance to catch up with those recent lows, providing some semblance of confluence here. Now, the reason this made it to my watch list today is because the low day in this pullback is from 2 days prior here on the 27th, and the high trade on the 27th was 268.36. And so I could put a line right there, and you'll notice that with the close over, if I zoom in here, the close yesterday is above the high of the low day. The close the day before was also above the high of the low day. Now, this doesn't necessarily give the trader immediate comfort to jump into the trade, but it does give you a consideration for a stock that may be holding a new short-term moving average, that being perhaps the 20-day moving average here, upward sloping. So this one is highlighting the potential for a consolidation window following a recent breakout, and still looking for the potential for that trend to get going in earnest quickly following a so-called close above the high of the low day. Let's look at another example. What about Arista Networks? Excellent example of a stock that has moved aggressively to the upside here. We had a 54, almost 55% rally, followed by a very brief give back in the last week. Here we met resistance and pulled back. Now, the 20-day moving average does reside below us. That could be a trend following moving average, as could be a 10-day moving average, but you'll notice we are below the 10-day. So some traders might have been using a 10-day moving average, might be a little uncomfortable with the recent action. But today, or this most recent candle, once more, what do we see? We have a low that comes into play here. So we have a great uptrend. Stock pulls back about 10% from its peak to its low. And if this candle here in red is our low day, well, then yesterday we achieved a hold move by closing above that high from the day prior. Now, of course, we don't know definitively that this low will stay the low in this pullback, but this is an example of potentially catching a so-called hold move opportunity very shortly after it occurs. Let's look at the next one, APH, Amphenol. Another similar situation with an uptrend clearly working, 200-day moving average gently sloping upward from the lower left to the the upper right. And most recently here, as I zoom in once more, you'll see we had an uptrend over a short-term period, about 4 weeks, 16 bars or so. That's actually more like 3 weeks, but then we had a quick pullback to support. Once more, the 20-day moving average acting as support in this instance, a brief pullback of about 8%. If we were looking for consistency with that level, notice here it was also a gap at one point. So we've maybe looking at this as a support test because we've had prior resistance become potential support, and we have the coincidence with the 20-day moving average. We call that confluence. And so today what we see is this candle, granted it's red, which tells us that we opened much higher. We opened at 154. We went as high as almost 155, but the key component is that we closed yesterday 148.38, and that is still above the high from the low day. And in such a scenario, we are terming this candle to be our low day. So even though that's red and we closed lower than we opened, we still closed above the high of the low day and thus have a CAHOLD move. Next up, what about Cisco? Similar in nature here, uptrend in play, right? You can see the uptrend working from the 200-day moving average. Recent breakout to the upside. In fact, starting that move like so. And as I zoom in, we'll notice we had a great pop here, 18.5%. Very brief and limited pullback from the peak to the trough, ballparks to about 5%. But again, the low in this move was this day. And what did we do? We need to close above the high of the low. And that day happened on this candle just yesterday. So this could be another one where a trader looks at it and says, all right, we could get started with believing that the trend has continuation on deck. What about next? Iron Mountain. Let's zoom this one back. You can see a well-defined uptrend here. We've got higher low. Before we had the higher high, we got another higher high. In fact, real nice move to the upside, followed by a higher low. And then another move to the upside, followed by a higher low. Now, the higher low in this instance, as I zoom in, most recently, again, coincides with an area of potential support. For some of you traders, it's that 20-day moving average. For other traders, it's that low we just made with the pullback level there. Potentially, if I move this level to the left here, what you're going to see is that it also coincides with those prior highs. And a lot of traders do look for prior highs, prior resistance, in this case, to act as potential support. And that's exactly what happened. You'll notice we got through this level previously, rallied further from about 110, let's say, all the way up to 121. So we added a quick 10% just on the breakout. And then we got the exact move that you might expect, which is a breakout and a throwback for the test of support. And once more, the low day in our trend line here, our pullback, was potentially yesterday. And so we're just looking to see, did we close above the high of the low day? We sure did. And you have a trend possible continuation view here with IRM. Another one of note that I pulled on here earlier was Microchip. Another good example of the short-term trend moving to the upside aggressively and then getting a very brief breather. In this case, it was a 55% upward move, followed by a very quick 3-day sell-off of about 8% there. Excuse me, let me double check on that. That was more like 9%. But the point remains the same. You have an uptrend working in this instance, right? And we've broken the uptrend, or pardon me, we've broken the recent pullback downtrend by not just moving higher. In this case, Microchip gapped higher through the high of the low day. Well, This gives maybe the impression that there might be more to the upside move here with Microchip. But of course, we know these are not scenarios that we can expect perfection from, of course. But what we can do is encourage a process that'll help us to mitigate our risk so that we plan our trade the plan we set for ourselves, looking to make it an easy process. Now, these CAHOLD moves do occur in the wild frequently. I have built a scan to locate some of these maneuvers. I'll incorporate that into the notes function below on this video so that you can have access to it. Just remember that any scripts we choose to share in such a manner, these are not guaranteed for timing nor for accuracy. Now, make sure you're subscribed to the Schwab YouTube channel we call Trader Talks, and follow me on X at Kevin Horner CS.